There we go. Okay. So terms for today, we're starting a new chapter here. We're going to move on to the French Revolution and Napoleonic Age. I'm only going to give you this three, okay? Because that's probably all we're going to get to today. So before we get to the French Revolution, we need to realize that there's some events that occurred that are going to cause a lot of issues for France. Okay, we left off talking about France with who? Louis the 14th. Yes, good job. And he created the Palace of Versailles. Or don't say Versailles. Good. Versailles. Good. What about that one room in there, the hallway of mirrors? Yeah, good. So that will be coming up here soon. Probably once we get back from break, a little bit into it, we will talk about World War One towards the end. The Treaty of Versailles, not Versailles, will be signed there. Okay. So here we go. French and Indian War, 7 Years' War, American Revolution. Oh wow, we know that one. Okay. Louis the 14th, or sorry, Louis the 16th. There we go. So you're talking about the 14th quite a bit. Louis the 16th. This guy won't be around too long. We good? Do we need more time? Okay, one more minute. Countdown. Counting up. Go ahead. All right, thanks, Wyatt. Okay, all right. So the French and Indian War, known as the 7 Years' War. What do we have? What do we got? We got. Oh, Connor, thank you.
Also known as the 7 Years' War was the world conflict for beginning of a long period of struggle for France.
All right, good job, good job. So you guys remember talking about the age of exploration? Yeah. Okay. So as all these countries, these European countries, are expanding past their own borders, their goal is to try to claim more land overseas, right? In the New World. Okay, we talked about Treaty Towards Seas. We talked about Spain and Portugal, how they kicked this off. But now we see two powers rising right at the same time, and they're going to butt into each other, specifically in North America, when it comes to their overseas expansion and their colonies being established. A lot of the trade coming from the New World, and that is going to be France and Britain. They've been in conflict with one another for quite some time. We're talking about it ever since the start of the year. And with the French and Indian War, known as the 7 Years' War, it lasted 7 years, many people argue and say that this was the First World War. Why? Because they fought in North America, fought in Europe, and they also fought in India. So when you look at the battlefield, it's more really spanning globally, right? And it comes to their overseas possessions, their territories that they control, right? Specifically in North America, that's what we know as, especially when it comes to building up to the American Revolution, right? This is the war that built America. That's another name for this war. So anyway, with France, they're controlling a lot of land in modern day Canada, right? So when you think of Canada, they have two languages spoken there. One specific is French, and the other one is English. But with France, they controlled a lot of area here in Canada, and their goal was to try to expand down the Ohio River Valley. And that's where the goal was. We're going to try to expand down what river? What? Mississippi River. Good job. So for France, their goal is to try to conquer a lot of this land, take over this land right out here in the Ohio River Valley, moving down to Orleans. Try to connect it to the Gulf. If they can do that, there's going to be a lot of resources and materials being extracted from the internal United States. They also set up and established a lot of trade with Aussie. Native Americans, good job. So that's why they call it the French and Indian War. A lot of it because a lot of the Native Americans, over half of these groups, sided with France. Okay, I'm not saying all of them sided with France because some did side with Great Britain. But the goal of the Native Americans was to try to push out these outside invaders, right? To try to push out any type of colonies being established because it's their land, right? So you can see how England and France are going to try to utilize the Native Americans for their advantage. Understand the landscape, understand the land, right? When it comes to resources and materials, establishing them to literally have a benefit advantage over the other. We know with Great Britain, they control the 13 colonies, right? So we talk a little bit about that with that age of exploration, and now they're being established. All right, one famous person from this war, I'm sure you guys know of him. He started as somewhat of a overrated schedule during this war. Specifically fighting out the fort near Pittsburgh, pushing off the French and some of these Native American groups. Does anybody know that man's name? Probably not.
He's not up for.
Paul? George Washington. Yep, good job. So I'll have a picture here on the slide. Maybe tomorrow I'll show you since we're running low on time with that. But George Washington gets his roots from the French and Indian War. Okay, and how he becomes one of noteworthy to move and push the Continental Army against Great Britain during the American Revolution. But main thing to know about the French and Indian War, do you think it's a cheap war? Do you think it's not going to cost anything for France? It's going to cost them heavy toll, right? Especially fighting in all different fronts globally around the world. They're fighting in North America, fighting in Europe. They're also fighting in India. So for France and even Great Britain, they're dumping tons of money into this, right? They are trying to seek an advantage over the other when it comes to this constant warfare, right? In many different aspects, many different locations around the world. So after this war, what do you think Louis XVI is going to have to do to try to get back to, maybe some of these standards of the economy? Go ahead, Paul.
They're gonna have to tax the people.
Yeah, they're gonna have to tax the people. Good. So you can see how this war, especially, is going to cause a lot of turmoil for not only France but even Great Britain moving forward. All right, the American Revolution. So shortly after French and Indian War, the 7 Years' War, we see the American Revolution. You already know about the American Revolution, right? Okay, so fought for the United States independence. Okay, and with that, we all know it all stemmed from taxation. It all stemmed from a lack of representation. Okay, and when it comes to George Washington leading the Continental Army against Great Britain, the strongest force of the time. Could we do it though without France? Probably not, right? So that's something to note here when you're thinking about the French Revolution, how the American Revolution directly leads to the French Revolution, right? All these insights, all these ideas of who that we just talked about. You guys had a social media project about these men. Enlightenment thinkers, yeah. So the age of Enlightenment push for these new ideas and these new methods of government is going to be shaping what we know of the United States government constitution. Okay, so when you think of the French Revolution, you can even say about the age of Enlightenment bringing on new ideas of how government should look. That's going to challenge these absolute rulers. So with the American Revolution, okay, France is putting a lot of effort, a lot of funding, a lot of money into help supporting the colonists against Great Britain. All of that we come out successful. A lot of it because Great Britain was kind of weakened from the 7 Years' War, and also because France really benefited through this tough time. They did. So as you can see here, these two wars especially are going to bring France to somewhat of their knees. Okay, as it's to a point where they're just trying to fund and really get back at Great Britain as these two powers are rising as global dominance of the world. So when you think of the French Revolution, I think I'd be missing something if I didn't mention about these two wars. We'll talk about them more next year with Mr. Henninger. He's going to go in more detail about these two wars. But in any case, I want to just talk about it, show and express that this is leading to the French Revolution. All right, then Louis XVI. What do you have? What we got? There's something basic here. Chris, go ahead.
He was the one that decided the French called it the American Revolution.
Okay, good. Also, we know with the French Revolution, this guy will see a lot of the issues, the turmoil, the problems of the people being expressed as they're rebelling against his rule, his absolute leadership. This age of feudalism is getting kicked to the curb, right? So we talked about feudalism quite a bit already in chapter 1. And as we see these new views of enlightenment and new views of what government should be, representing of the people, popular sovereignty, limited government, okay, the crown in France is going to come to an end. A lot of it because of the debts from these two wars, French and Indian War and American Revolution, as France is just trying to keep afloat. And the power amongst the people, over the people, is dwindling. All right, so we'll mention that here more tomorrow. Is there any questions? Okay, I just want to set the stage here real quick, though, before we move on and talk about the French Revolution, because we got to know the events leading up to it and how this caused a lot of issues for France when it comes to their change in government. All right, so let's